Chiefly we will see about constitutional development and nationalistic response. Ante like when we look at Indian national movement, it actually starts as a demand for the changes in the constitution or how the country is being governed. Okay. So that governing, it actually starts somewhere here. Okay, with 1858 Crowns Act or Crowns Declaration, the complete administration or takeover of the British India happens, and the crown will take over, and the administration of it happens through constitutional means. Even prior to this, it starts evolving from 1773 Regulating Act, when they start regulating the East India Company, and gradually the entire power is taken over by the British Crown and East India Company is abolished, and thereon it is a sole responsibility of the British Crown or the British government to govern India. So that is done through some kind of legislative setup, a kind of not a constitutional means, by a legislative setup which starts here. Like native, some nascent form. Nascent form of legislature, it starts in 1833 Act. This we have discussed right here. For the first time we get the concept of legislative council and other one is executive council. This is where a law member is added. Okay. So here for the first time we have a law member, and the chief function of the law member is to draft a law. And that drafted law will be discussed in the legislative council. When the Governor General and the council members, they gather together for the discussion of this draft law, it is called legislative council. And when after discussion it is being executed and they meet for the implementation or the execution of the law, it is called an executive council. So this is the primitive setup. It's only like how much it is? Governor General plus 2 members plus law member. Fine. So this is the only very nascent and the primitive kind of setup, and this gradually evolves. By the time you come to 1935 Act, we will have a total of 375 members. Okay. In the Legislative Assembly, in the Central Legislative Assembly, and this happens gradually through these successive acts. So till here it will be the sole prerogative or the sole power of the British government to bring about changes. From here onwards, because like in 1885 we have the formation of the Indian National Congress and the moderate phase starts. The demands of the moderates. What is the chief demand of the moderates? Or the chief means of moderates? Constitutional means. So through constitutional means or constitutional reforms, we want an improvement in the governance of the country. That is the chief demand or the chief approach of moderates. So from here onwards, we see a impact or like the influence of Indian national movement on the acts that continue thereof. Okay. So that is what the constitutional development and the nationalist response to this constitutional development. So the governing authority is chiefly the British authority only. So they have to bring about a changes, and those changes are brought about by the impact or the pressure that is being built by the moderates. Okay. And once some change is brought about in the act, again there will be a nationalistic response to those changes. Whether those changes are acceptable to the current trends or the demands of the moderates and the Indian national movement or not, and depending upon that, again there will be a response. And again there will be, based on that response, again there will be some other changes. that continues till 1947. So here, like, once the Indian national movement starts and the demands of the moderate starts, there will be 1892 Act, and in 1892 Act there will be certain provisions for the entry of who? Indians. Okay. So actually this entry of Indians into legislative, it starts even prior to 1892 Act. In the Councils Act itself, it will start. So that one we will see after this flowchart, or after we discuss this one. Another line of development is this expansion of legislative councils. So how it has started from this a couple of members to 375 members, and at what time Indians have entered into it, and the gradual increase in the number of Indians. So these Indians are always called non-official members. They are called non-official members. Fine. So even in this months after this, little evolution will be there. In that you find two broad categories: ex officio and additional. Okay. So ex officio members ante enti, what do you mean by ex officio?
By virtue of the position he will be
by virtue of that position, that it's not that here the member or someone is elected, that position it's reserved for that. So these ex officio members will be these people: governor general or viceroy. After 1858 we can either call him governor general or viceroy. So viceroy plus his council plus law member, these are the ex officio members. And the ex officio members kuda, they keep on adding up. Later, once you move on, they keep on adding up, and that who is added and what is the number we will see. So gradually at some point of time this will become 9 members will become the ex officio members, and these 9 ex officio members will be continuing till the end. So apart from this ex officio members, the remaining members are called additional members. Fine. And in these additional members you have Indians and Britishers. Fine. So Indian members are called non-official members. Fine. And these ex officio members plus the additional British members together are called official members. Plus ex officio, these are called official. So that is the basic framework, and we will see like who are added, who are ex officio, how many Indians were added, all that we will see during the evolution. So the chief demand of Indian National Congress or moderates or this nationalistic response is to increase this one. Fine. To increase the percentage of this membership, and also to increase their powers. Powers in the sense, with respect to the legislative council, what is the role and function of this section. So initially when you come at this point in 1892, it will be only like discussion of budget. Fine. So this one, when we look at with the successive acts, there will be gradual adding up of powers, like passing of resolutions in public interests, asking supplementary questions. So certain kinds of powers will be increased. So this Indian nationalistic response, that will be chiefly in this regard, to improve this part and to going on adding or increasing their power and role, and through this a kind of self rule to be achieved or established. So that is the basic thing. This one you just remember. This is the most simplest form to remember. So that once we overlap with all that, we will get a clear picture of how it has developed. So that is the basic framework, and as I said, like this development will be going on like this, and this is the nationalistic response. Which one? Yeah, this one is the nationalistic response, this line. Fine. So after 1892, after all these developments and the establishment of Indian National Congress, and with the demand of moderates, the 1892 Act is brought into implementation. Fine. And the response to this is the demand for Swaraj or self-rule. Because whatever provisions that were given in 1892 Act were very minimal. They are not quite acceptable to the moderates or anyone in general. So they come with the demand for the Swaraj. And at the same time, you will also see another point is the extremists. The extremists who are not very much happy with the developments or the provisions of 1892 Act and constitutional means, and they want to take about extra constitutional means. And a part of it or extension of this, we have the what? Swadeshi movement. Right. So the in response, this is the constitutional development, and the response to this is this one. Fine. And the response to this one is again this. (1909) Act. Fine. So in 1909 Act, we will see this one again. This expansion. Fine. This one. These are the two things, right? One is the non-official thing. So we will see that expansion of the non-official members, and we will also see certain increase in the powers. And then we will also see principle of direct elections. Fine. So prior to this, it is either indirect elections or through nominations. So here we will see these changes with respect to these three. Non-official members increase avutaru, and certain powers will also be increased to the non-officials or to the legislature, and there will be principle of direct elections. So that is the response of in the constitutional line of development to the nationalistic response, that is Swadeshi, after Swadeshi movement. So after this, Indian national line of Indian national movement, we know, right, that's the year of passivity. The moderates and extremists, their influence decreases or because of n number of factors. And here we see the home rule movement. Fine. The home rule movement. So after the 1909 Act and the constitutional reforms, the response we get for this is the home rule movement. So home rule movement is more or less a part of the Indian national movement, with Tilak being the member. And ఈ మధ్యలో ఉన్న డెవలప్మెంట్స్ ఏంటంటే we will show this for the years of passivity antam. We have seen it, right, in previous classes, what all happens during this period. So here home rule movement will be considered as a part of Indian national movement only. So under the influence of the home rule movement, under the pressure of home rule movement, we get this Montagu-Chelmsford reforms, or Okay, 1919 Act. So in this act also we will see these things. There will be increase in the non-official membership, and then there will be also increase in the powers, and the major thing that we look here is diarchy. Fine. Because the previous, when you see what is the previous demand, this one, right, self-rule, Swaraj. So there should be a response to this demand. So a response to this demand is given in this way, by giving the provision of diarchy. What this is, this diarchy, you know, right, like we have discussed in previous session, it's a kind of limited diarchy. That is what are the subjects? Transferred and reserved subjects. Okay. So these transferred subjects will be under the L, under ministries. Ministries ante like present time ministers laga. So these are the people from the provinces, and these reserved things will be under governors and executive council. Okay. Executive council. Fine. And even these transfer subjects, like the governor has final control over it, and finally it will be viceroy. So that is one basic thing, like it gives a feel of self-rule, but like because of this division, in practice it is actually not self-rule, because ultimately it will be controlled by the viceroy. That is one thing. And the other thing is there will be like kind of very unscientific division of subjects. So if agriculture is under one head, irrigation is under the other one. You see? So such kind of things is also like it actually dissolves the entire purpose, right? Both the things should be under single head, and that if it is under this transferred subject, then it might have given a kind of proper power or something, kind of self-rule. But this kind of division, again, it defeats the purpose. That is one thing, the basic subject itself, and the second thing is this kind of division, and third thing is funds. Okay. More amount of funds are given to this part. So that's also a kind of self-defeating thing. There should have been equal distribution of powers, but here we get more distribution of powers to reserved subjects. And also much important subjects are placed under reserved list. Fine. So because of these things, and the basic purpose of whatever this self-rule which is being demanded from here, and this 1919 Act being a response to this, but because of these limited provisions, it's again a kind of defeating thing, and obviously there will be a response to this one. Again there will be a response to this. Fine. And this is this, the developments of 1927, 30, 32, 35. All these developments are basically this one. To this is added the Simon Commission, which comes to evaluate this act. Fine. So and then we have the Simon protests, and then we have here we have all those developments, right? Roundtable conferences and all, and finally we have the 1935 Act. So even this 1935 Act, you will see the same kind of extensions. Here are these things, these non-official members, and here we will have additionally Council of States, and there will be a number of provisions here. So here the chief thing is like bicameral legislature, and many things will be there. ఇక్కడ like specificగా like a specific thing like this, ఇక్కడ diarchy or here separate elections, such things ante, yeah, there will be a specific thing, bicameral legislatures will be introduced. The major thing is whatever has been set up till there, akkada like here there will be some major changes or some kind of transformations will be there in whatever has been done till now. So that will be 1935 Act, and based on this there will be 1937 elections. Fine. And here like one major thing that happens is World War II. Fine. And due to the development of the events of World War, where the British requires India also to participate in the World War, they have to promise further more changes in the that constitutional development or through this 1935 Acts, amendments in this 1935 Acts, and they bring forth all these offers. Linlithgow offer, August offer, and Cripps mission. So in the one provision is to give, the demand of Indians is to give, to get independence or to be given independence. But these people majorly they come with provisions of changes in 1935 Act. And all these three they will be promising only dominion status. Dominion status promise చేస్తూ ఉంటారు. So this is also a response of the British government in the constitutional line to bring about some changes in the constitutional development that is happening. This is the response of the British government, and the response to this is what? Quit India movement. So I like Quit India movement and other developments happens. Which one? Royal Indian Navy, and then Azad Hind Fauj, and also the external developments. That is World War II, ending of World War II, the fall of imperialism and colonialism, rise of US. Those are all the developments that happen here. So after that we will have the cabinet mission approaching. So this cabinet mission also puts proposals of changes in this constitutional development. So here anyways independence is a given. By this time that British will accept that independence will be given, and here also there will be a number of things which will be discussed about how the constitution is going to be framed. So constituent assembly will be formed and all that will happen, right? So this is also a part of this entire constitutional development. And this is finally where there will be the agreement between the Indian national movement line and this constitutional development line. There will be agreement and disagreement and everything. It leads to partition, and agreement, it leads to independence. And finally we get the independence and constitution. So that is the broader outline or background of constitutional development vis-a-vis nationalist response. So ఇప్పుడు we will see like individual this one, because this is a bit confusing. Members, additional members like official members and all that thing is a bit confusing kind of. So we will see that as one line of discussion, and the other thing is that plus in each act like what major things have been introduced. Major things ante once if it is 1909, the first thing which comes to your mind is separate electorates. Likewise 1919 ante you will get diarchy to your mind. And 1892 ante like entry of Indian members into legislatures and certain little discussion of budget. That is what usually which strikes our mind. So apart from that there will be other provisions, 1 or 3 or 4 some other provisions. So those all we will see. So each act lo manam చూడాల్సింది ఏంటంటే this one thing. This is not very important, but they might ask. But you feel like it's important. How many members are added, how it expanded and everything. So for your sake I am telling, or else you will think that I have not told it or important miss చేస్తానేమో అనుకుంటారు. And anyways that's important in the sense you will get an understanding of things from how like from 4 people it has come to 375 అనేసి. And remaining things we will see direct electorates and what are the different kind of electorates and what are the separate electorates, different separate electorates, provisions and we will see. So this is the broader outline of constitutional development. అర్థమైంది. ఎక్కడండి? ఎగ్జిక్యూటివ్ కౌన్సిల్లోకి వెళ్ళరు, లెజిస్లేటివ్ కౌన్సిల్లోకి వెళ్తారు. అప్పుడు రిజైన్ చేసేస్తారు కదా. నాన్ కోఆపరేషన్ మూమెంట్ తర్వాత ఇన్ యాజ్ ఎ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ నాన్ కోఆపరేషన్ మూమెంట్ దే విల్ రిజైన్ ఫ్రమ్ లెజిస్లేచర్స్. కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీ ఇంపార్టెంట్ మెంబర్స్ ఆర్ కాంగ్రెస్ పార్టీ మెంబర్సే కదా. సో ఆఫ్టర్ దట్ స్వరాజిస్ట్ పార్టీ విల్ కమ్ విత్ అ స్పెసిఫిక్ అజెండా ఆఫ్ ఎంటరింగ్ లెజిస్లేచర్స్ మూమెంట్ ఆర్ program through legislatures. Indian national movement, one is through this one, and other thing, this Swaraj movement or home rule movement, non-cooperation movement, they are also part of Indian national movement. Right? So Swarajist thing ante exclusively only through legislature means we will do honest. That is Swarajists.